Hello and welcome back to ESL Listening Practice. It is great to have you here with us. Whether you are stuck in traffic right now, maybe chopping vegetables for dinner, or, just stealing a few minutes of quiet time before the chaos of the day starts, we are so glad you tuned in. Today, we are going to have a very honest, perhaps even a slightly painful conversation.
I think so.
We are talking about the reality of being an adult who wants to learn a language, but who also has to deal with the absolute chaos of modern life.
It's so true. Work, deadlines, kids, bills, relationships, exhaustion.
And then somewhere at the bottom of that pile is this goal: become fluent in English.
It is the classic dilemma. And honestly, it is the number one reason people don't reach fluency.
Really? The number one?
I truly believe so. It's rarely an intellectual failure. Most of our listeners are smart people. They understand the grammar rules if they sit down and look at them.
Sure.
The problem isn't the difficulty of the language. The problem is the logistics of life.
I think we have all been there. I certainly have. You start January 1st with this incredible energy.
Oh, yeah. The New Year motivation.
You buy a brand new notebook, you download 3 different apps, you subscribe to a YouTube channel, and you tell yourself, this is it. This is the year I master English. And you go hard for about 10 days. You're doing an hour a night. You feel great. And then life happens.
Life always happens. The car breaks down, or you get the flu, or your boss dumps a huge project on your desk.
Suddenly you miss a day.
Just one.
Then you miss 3 days, and then it has been a month, and you look at that notebook gathering dust on the shelf, and you just feel this wave of guilt.
Oh, the guilt is the worst part.
You think, I'm just lazy. I don't have the discipline.
That narrative, I am lazy, is what we want to dismantle today. Because if you look at the behavioral psychology behind habit formation and learning, laziness is almost never the actual variable.
So what is it then?
The variable is friction. The variable is strategy.
Yeah.
We are trying to force an academic model of learning. Sitting at a desk for an hour like a university student.
Like a study session.
Exactly. We're trying to force that into a life that simply does not have space for it.
So if you are listening to this and you are nodding your head because you have felt that guilt, take a deep breath.
Please do.
We are going to fix this today. Our mission is to build a realistic, bulletproof routine for the intermediate learner, the B2 learner, who has a full-time life.
And we are going to look at the science of time management, the psychology of micro goals, and how to hack your brain's reward system so that consistency becomes easier than quitting.
And you're not going to tell me to wake up at 4 a.m., are you?
No, we are not going to ask you to wake up at 4 a.m.
Thank goodness for that. I am not a 4 a.m. person.
Neither am I. We are going to find the time that already exists in your day.
Okay, let's start there. Let's start with that concept of time. Because I think this is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. We're always waiting for free time. We have this idea that, in the future, things will be calmer.
Oh, absolutely. This is actually a well-documented psychological phenomenon called the planning fallacy.
The planning fallacy.
Yeah. It was popularized by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Basically, the human brain is evolutionarily wired to be optimistic about the future.
I see.
We look at next week, and in our imagination, next week looks clear. We don't see the traffic jams, the unexpected phone calls, the fatigue. We just see empty blocks on a calendar.
That is so true.
Right.
I look at next Saturday and think, perfect. I have nothing scheduled. I will spend 3 hours studying English. It looks like a beautiful open field of time.
Right. It is a mirage because when you actually get to Saturday, what happens?
Well, reality crashes in. I wake up and I realize I have no clean clothes, so I have to do laundry.
Yep. There's an hour.
Then I realize the fridge is empty, so I have to go grocery shopping.
Another hour and a half, easy.
Then my sister calls and wants to talk for an hour. And by the time I actually sit down, it is 4 p.m., I am exhausted, and the last thing I want to do is study conditional grammar structures.
Exactly. And because you relied on that one perfect block of time, and that block got eaten up by life, your progress for the entire week drops to 0.
Wow.
This is the waiting trap. We wait for a perfect moment that never comes.
And it's not just inefficient from a time management perspective, is it? You're saying it's also bad for, the brain itself.
It's actually incredibly inefficient from a neurological perspective. This binge study approach, trying to do it all on Saturday, is just not how our brains are built to learn.
Wait, let's pause there. Because intuitively, studying for 3 hours on a Saturday feels like real work.
It does.
It feels serious. Are you saying that isn't the best way to learn?
If you look at the biology of the brain, absolutely not. We have to talk about the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve.
Okay.
Hermann Ebbinghaus was a psychologist who studied memory, and he found that memory decay is exponential.
It drops off fast.
Very fast. If you learn something on Sunday and you don't review it, by Wednesday, you have lost a massive percentage of that information. By the next Sunday, it is almost entirely gone.
So if I am only studying once a week, I am basically starting from scratch every single time.
Precisely. You are spending the first hour of your Saturday session just relearning what you forgot from last week.
You're just running in place.
You are running on a treadmill. But there is another factor here called synaptic pruning.
That sounds intense.
It is. Your brain is an energy hog. It consumes about 20% of your body's calories.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So it is constantly trying to be efficient. If you build a neural pathway, say a new vocabulary word, and you don't use it for 5 days, your brain says, well, this is expensive to maintain and we aren't using it. Let's delete it.
That is brutal. My brain is actively sabotaging me to save calories.
It is survival. It is cleaning out the junk. But you can hack this. If you touch the language every day, even for just 20 minutes, you are sending a signal to your brain. You are screaming, keep this, I use this daily, this is essential for survival.
So 20 minutes a day is functionally superior to 3 hours once a week.
Infinitely superior. Even 10 minutes a day. The consistency beats the intensity every time because you are fighting that forgetting curve. You are keeping the pathway open.
Okay, I am sold on the math.
Right.
I get it. 20 minutes a day beats the weekend warrior approach.
Right.
But knowing that is one thing, doing it is another. Because 20 minutes sounds easy, but when you are rushing out the door in the morning or you are crashing on the sofa at night, even 20 minutes feels like climbing Mount Everest.
It really can. And that is where we have to move from time management to behavior design.
Behavior design, okay.
We need to talk about habit stacking. This is a concept that has been popularized by James Clear in Atomic Habits and also by B.J. Fogg at Stanford University.
I've heard of that.
The core idea is that relying on willpower is a losing strategy. Willpower is like a battery. You wake up with a full charge, but every decision you make drains it.
Oh, I feel that. By 6 p.m., I don't want to decide what to eat for dinner, let alone decide to open a textbook.
Exactly. So if your plan is, I will decide to study when I have time, you will fail.
Guaranteed.
Because you won't have the willpower to make that decision. Habit stacking removes the decision. You use an existing habit as a trigger for the new habit.
Right. The formula is, after our current habit, I will new habit.
That's the one.
Okay, but we need to be careful here because I have tried this and failed. I told myself after I get home from work, I will study. And it never happened, not once.
That is a great example of a bad anchor.
Why is it bad? It seems logical.
Getting home from work is too fuzzy. It is too chaotic. When you get home, the dog might be barking, the mail is on the floor, your phone is buzzing, you are hungry.
All of that, yes.
There are too many variables. You need a mechanical anchor, something that happens exactly the same way every time.
A mechanical anchor. Okay. Give me an example of a mechanical anchor that actually works for a busy person.
Let's take the commute. A lot of people drive to work. Driving to work is vague, but clicking the seatbelt is a mechanical action.
Okay.
It is a precise physical moment. So the rule becomes, the moment the seatbelt clicks, the English podcast starts.
That is interesting. So you tie the audio to the physical click.
Yes. You don't think about it. Click equals audio. It becomes a reflex.
I like that. No decision involved.
Let's look at another one. Cooking. When I cook is okay, but...
Also kind of vague.
Right, but when I turn on the burner is better, or when I pick up the knife to chop onions...
I spend a lot of time chopping onions, and honestly, that is prime dead time. My hands are busy, but my brain is just floating around thinking about my to-do list.
Exactly. That is the gold mine. We call it dead time, but it is actually found time.
Found time. I love that.
If you stack a listening habit onto chopping vegetables, suddenly you aren't studying, you are just making dinner. But you are getting 15 minutes of high-quality input.
And it changes the identity of the activity. It doesn't feel like homework. It feels like, I don't know, a sophisticated way to cook.
It integrates English into your lifestyle. You stop being a student who studies English.
Right.
And you become a person who lives in English. And that psychological shift is huge.
I love that. Living in English, that feels so much more empowering.
It is.
But I want to play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say I stack these habits. I listen in the car. I listen while I chop onions. But sometimes I feel like I'm just consuming, but I'm not really learning. Or I try to set goals and I fail.
Yeah.
This brings us to the next problem. Goal setting.
Huge one.
We are told to dream big, right? Shoot for the moon.
And that is terrible advice for language learning.
Really? Shoot for the moon is bad advice.
Terrible. Because big, abstract goals are demotivating.
How?
If your goal is become fluent, that is like saying, get healthy. What does it mean? How do you know when you have achieved it? It is a moving finish line.
Yes.
You study for 3 months, but you don't feel fluent yet, so you interpret that as failure.
That is so true. You don't get that dopamine hit of, I did it. You just feel this constant low-level inadequacy.
Exactly. And that feeling makes you want to quit. We need to flip the script. We need micro goals.
Micro goals.
We need to shrink the goal until it is so small that it is virtually impossible to fail.
Okay, how small are we talking? Like really small?
I am talking about learn 5 new words today.
4.
Or read 1 paragraph. Or listen to 3 minutes of audio.
Come on, 5 words. I have to push back on this. If I want to read the New York Times or watch a Christopher Nolan movie without subtitles, 5 words a day feels like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. Is that actually going to move the needle?
I love that image. Emptying the ocean with a teaspoon, it feels insignificant in the moment, yes.
It really does.
But let's look at the math first and then the psychology.
Okay, hit me with the math.
Mathematically, 5 words a day is 35 words a week.
Right.
That is roughly 150 a month. That is 1,800 words in a year.
Okay.
If you know the top 2,000 most frequent words in English, you understand about 80 to 90% of daily conversation.
Wow.
So in 1 year of teaspoon effort, you have built the core engine of the language.
When you put it that way, 1,800 words is actually a lot.
It is massive. But the real magic isn't the math, it is the neurochemistry.
The neurochemistry.
We need to talk about the progress principle, which was researched by Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer. They analyzed thousands of daily journals from workers to see what motivated them.
And what was it?
The number one factor wasn't money and it wasn't praise. It was the sense of making progress in meaningful work, even small progress.
So simply feeling like you are moving forward is the fuel.
Yes. When you tick that box, I learned my 5 words, your brain releases dopamine.
The feel-good chemical.
It registers a win. You feel competent. And human beings love to do things that make them feel competent.
That's so true.
If you set a goal to study for an hour and you only do 40 minutes, you log off feeling like a failure. Your brain associates English with pain and disappointment.
Which makes me want to avoid it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It creates an aversion loop.
Exactly. But if the bar is on the floor, 5 words, and you do 10,
You feel like a champion.
you are winning. And that win loop creates momentum. You start looking forward to your practice because it is a source of dopamine, not a source of guilt.
A source of dopamine, not a source of guilt. I think that is the key, because guilt is the enemy.
It really is.
And speaking of guilt, let's talk about when things go wrong. Because even with micro goals, even with habit stacking, we have what we call messy days.
Oh, the messy days. The days when the kids are sick, the plumbing bursts, you have a migraine, and you just want to crawl into a hole.
Yes. And usually, this is the moment where people quit. I have done it so many times. I have a streak going maybe 2 weeks. Then I have a messy Tuesday. I miss my practice. Wednesday comes, and I feel like, well, I broke the streak. It's over. I'm back to square one. Why do we do that? Why do we throw away 2 weeks of progress just because of one bad Tuesday?
It is a cognitive distortion. In psychology, specifically in dieting psychology, this is known as the what the hell effect.
The what the hell effect. Is that a real scientific term?
It actually is. Researchers use it to describe that moment when a dieter eats 1 cookie, feels like they have ruined their diet, and says, what the hell, I might as well eat the whole box.
I feel attacked. I have definitely done that with cookies and with language learning.
We all have. It is perfectionism masquerading as discipline. We think, if I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't do it at all.
That's it right there.
But in language learning, perfection is not required. Consistency is required.
So how do we handle a messy day without spiraling into the what the hell effect? What's the practical strategy?
We implement the no guilt rule.
The no guilt rule. I like it.
We have to accept that skipping a day is not a moral failure. It is a statistical probability. It is going to happen.
It's inevitable.
The strategy is never miss twice.
Never miss twice. I like that. So if Tuesday is a disaster, Wednesday is non-negotiable.
Exactly. And here is the crucial part. Do not try to make up the time.
Oh, interesting.
This is where everyone goes wrong. They think, I missed 20 minutes yesterday, so I must do 40 minutes today to balance the ledger.
That sounds logical, though. Why is that bad?
Because on Wednesday, you are probably still tired from whatever happened on Tuesday.
Right.
And now you have doubled the workload. You have made the mountain twice as high. It increases the friction, which increases the likelihood that you will fail again on Wednesday.
And then you've missed 2 days.
And then you have missed 2 days, and the what the hell effect kicks in full force.
So the smart move is just to reset.
Just reset. Do your normal 20 minutes. Pretend Tuesday didn't happen. Progress comes from returning to the habit, not from being perfect.
Like brushing your teeth, right?
Exactly. Think of it like brushing your teeth. If you forget to brush your teeth one morning because you are rushing, do you say, well, I guess I'll never brush my teeth again?
No, that would be gross. You just brush them that night.
Exactly. Treat English like dental hygiene. It is just something you do. It doesn't need to be an emotional drama.
I think taking the emotion out of it is really helpful.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we do need some emotion.
In what sense?
We need interest. Because if the study material is boring, even 20 minutes feels like torture.
Yes.
This brings us to the fun factor.
This is absolutely critical, especially for the intermediate learner. When you are a beginner, A1, A2.
Right, you're just learning the basics.
You have to learn the basics. You have to learn the numbers, the colors. Where is the bathroom? It is functional. But at the B2 level, you are hitting the intermediate plateau.
Ugh. The plateau is real. You stop seeing that rapid progress you saw in the beginning. Everything slows down.
Right. And the only way to break through the plateau is volume. You need massive exposure to the language. You need to consume hundreds of hours of content. And here's the reality check. You will not consume hundreds of hours of content if you are bored.
No way.
Willpower is a finite resource. Interest is an infinite resource.
So we need to stop using materials that we think are good for us and start using materials we actually like.
Yes. We need to leverage what Stephen Krashen calls the input hypothesis.
Can you break that down for us?
Basically, you need comprehensible input content you can mostly understand in a low-anxiety environment. If you are reading a dry textbook about economics and you hate economics, your anxiety goes up, your boredom goes up, and your brain shuts the door. We call that the affective filter.
The brain just puts up a wall. This is boring. I'm out.
Exactly. But if you love cooking, watch MasterChef in English. If you love true crime podcasts, listen to True Crime in English.
But I hear listeners asking, is that really studying? If I'm watching The Great British Bake Off, am I actually learning or am I just being lazy on the sofa?
If you are watching actively, you are learning more than you would in a classroom.
Really? More?
Yes, because you are seeing the language in context. You aren't learning the word need or whisk from a list. You are seeing someone physically do it while hearing the word.
Ah, so it's a multi-sensory experience.
That dual coding visual plus audio makes the memory stick.
And because you are interested in who wins the competition, your brain is hyper-focused.
Right.
You are struggling to understand because you want to know the result.
That struggle to understand is where the acquisition happens. You are forgetting that you are learning English, and you are just using English as a tool to get information or entertainment.
That's the goal.
That is the holy grail.
So permission granted to watch Netflix as long as it is in English and you are paying attention.
Permission granted, absolutely.
We have covered a huge amount of ground here. We have the science, the psychology, the habits.
We have.
But we need to package this into something simple. Because if the plan is complicated, no one will follow it.
Complexity is the enemy of execution. We want a simple weekly plan.
So what does this look like for a normal person with a job and maybe a family?
I recommend a split routine. You have the Monday to Friday survival mode and the weekend growth mode.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Let's break down survival mode.
Monday to Friday, your goal is maintenance and consistency. Keep it short. 20 to 25 minutes max.
That's it.
That's it. For example, first, your commute. That's 15 minutes of audio, habits stacked with a seatbelt click.
Okay, done.
Second, your morning coffee. While it's brewing, you do 5 minutes of vocabulary on an app. That's your micro goal. 5 words. And then, while you're in the shower or chopping those onions for dinner, you do a few minutes of that internal monologue practice.
And that's it.
That is it. You are done for the day. You've won.
That is incredibly doable. Even on a bad day, you could do that.
Exactly. You protect the habit. Then, on the weekend, you switch gears.
To growth mode.
To growth mode.
Yeah.
Because you have a bit more cognitive bandwidth, You schedule one longer session, maybe 45 minutes on Saturday morning.
And what do we do in that longer session? Is that when we break out the grammar books?
You could if you enjoy that, but this is where you go deep on the fun stuff. Watch a full episode of that TV show without pausing. Read a longer article on a topic you love.
Okay.
Maybe write a journal entry about your week in English. Or, if you can, schedule a 30-minute conversation with a tutor or a language exchange partner.
So the weekend is for more active, deeper engagement.
The weekend allows for that deep work that is just too hard to achieve on a Tuesday night when you're exhausted.
I really like this distinction. Weekdays are for keeping the plant alive, watering it.
Yes.
Weekends are for pruning and growing. It feels sustainable.
Sustainability is the whole point. We are looking for a pace you can maintain for 5 years, not a pace you burn out on in 5 weeks.
That's the goal. Fluency is a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on at the beginning, the idea of waiting. We talked about how we wait for the perfect time to study English, and how that time is a mirage.
It is a profound realization when you finally see it. It really changes your perspective.
And I think this applies to more than just English. I was thinking about this while you were talking about the planning fallacy.
Go on.
If we stop waiting for the perfect time to learn English, what else are we waiting for?
That is the big question, isn't it? Are you waiting for a perfect time to start exercising? Are you waiting for life to calm down before you write that book you have always wanted to write? Are you waiting to call an old friend until you have more time?
The reality is, the chaos isn't going away. The messy days are part of the deal.
They are life.
If you can learn to build something meaningful like a new language inside the chaos, rather than waiting for the chaos to end,
Yes.
that is a superpower.
It really is. The perfect time is a myth. The only time we have is the messy, imperfect now.
So here is our challenge to you, listening right now. Don't overhaul your whole life tomorrow. Don't buy a new planner.
Please don't.
Just pick one thing we talked about. Maybe it's the seatbelt rule. Maybe it's the 5 words a day. Just pick one tiny thing.
And start today, not Monday. Today.
Thank you so much for exploring this with us today. We hope this helps you turn that mountain back into a molehill. Good luck with your studies. Be kind to yourself on the messy days, and we will catch you in the next one.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep learning.